Imagine waking up to headlines saying that Donald Trump is being openly discussed as someone who should be taken into custody, not sanctioned, not condemned, but taken into custody. And the reason is something that would have sounded unthinkable a few years ago, which is that Donald Trump authorized and personally directed the kidnapping of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro outside of any recognized legal framework. Within hours, international law experts were not debating policy, they were debating jurisdiction. Could this trigger universal jurisdiction? Does this meet the definition of an international crime? Would Trump be at risk of arrest if he travels abroad? If an American president orders the extrajudicial kidnapping of a sitting foreign head of state, it's certainly not diplomacy. It's certainly not foreign policy. It's obviously darker, but does it justify the arrest of Donald Trump? And this is what is now being discussed. Once a country does this to another, once a powerful country decides we can just grab a foreign leader if we don't like him, it becomes open season. And there are, in a sense, no longer rules and no longer norms. And suddenly the question is, will Trump be detained if he sets foot in certain countries? Should he be detained in such a situation? Now, people always assume the United States is immune to that type of thing. It might happen to the Venezuelan president, but it's not going to happen to the American president. I mean, listen, maybe that's true. Maybe it wouldn't happen to the American president. But in a fact-based world, international law doesn't care exactly which country you are from. It is either the law or it isn't. And the same legal logic that the United States uses to justify detaining foreign leaders, at least in theory, could be turned around against Donald Trump. That is what is now rattling a lot of the people that are concerned about this. It is not they liked Maduro. Most people, I mean, listen, the majority don't like Maduro unless you like authoritarian autocrats. But if the rule becomes whoever is stronger can kidnap whoever is weaker on the international stage, in a sense, every leader everywhere is fair game, including ours. Now, we've already heard that in Colombia, in Mexico, in a number of places, there are conversations happening about the protection of the leader. Because what the Maduro fiasco has exposed is you might think your president is safe, but they may not actually be as safe as you think from international kidnapping. And so that is now a discussion that's happening in many other countries. But what about in the United States? When you think about, the bluster and the familiar posture of someone that acts as though the rules don't apply to them, that could work domestically for as long as Donald Trump is in the United States. I think it would be very unlikely that what happened to Maduro would happen to Trump in the United States. But what about internationally? The more that Donald Trump treats this entire Maduro escapade like a flex, like a feat of strength, the more I assume other countries are going to start asking, why should they restrain themselves? And the part that Trump supporters don't want to hear is that this has nothing to do with left and right. The Democrats and Republicans is a topic on this show. Democrats versus Republicans is a topic of importance in the political space. But this is simply about, is the United States governed by law or is it governed by the impulses of one very orange man? And once you normalize extrajudicial force against foreign leaders, you can't be shocked if the world decides the gloves are off. And you know what? Maybe it's not Trump, but other countries could also start hijinks or funny business with lower level officials, diplomatic Americans who are in other countries. I mean, this has the potential to get extraordinarily ugly if the gloves are really to come off. Now, the reality, of course, is that there is one person to blame here. It's Trump, who has dragged us towards this with recklessness, supported by the sycophants around him who are either taking advantage of a guy who is in cognitive decline and doesn't really know what he's doing, or are even feeding him some of these ideas themselves. Now, if your assumption is no country would ever try to arrest or detain Donald Trump, You might be right. I am not here to tell you Trump's getting arrested next time he leaves the United States. I am not here to tell you that. But what I will say is that many international crises start with the assumption no one would ever do this thing or that thing. And then someone does it. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in a changed world. So keep it in mind. And it is stunning that there are now discussions. Could Trump get arrested? Should Trump get arrested? Is the Secret Service alone, if traveling abroad, enough to keep the full force of another country's law enforcement apparatus from detaining Trump if that's what they decide that they want to do? The core issue in political journalism isn't access to facts. It's really framing. Different outlets can start from the same underlying facts and still produce very different narratives. Ground News is built to make those differences explicit. Our sponsor, Ground News, aggregates coverage of a single story from across the political spectrum and presents it visually. You can see ideological lean, ownership, reliability of each outlet at a glance. The feature I use the most is the side-by-side headline view. Seeing multiple outlets describe the same event differently makes the framing choices very obvious, what's emphasized, what's downplayed, what's the context, what's left out. Ground News also offers a blind spot feed that lets you highlight stories that are receiving little attention from one side of the spectrum. That helps expose possible gaps that disagreement alone won't reveal. You can also personalize your feed by topic. You can make it easier to track the issues you personally care about without unnecessary noise. Go to ground.news/Pakman to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. You can also gift a subscription to a friend. The link is in the description.